coronavirus, very much the trapped of deadly pandemics, wasn't really taken seriously when it started, and after what feels like 20 years, it won't go away. Now, obviously, the coronavirus has been a big deal over the past couple months, with many businesses and even countries closing down to slow the spread of the virus. The widespread of this whole thing has even led to a lot of problems in a lot of different ways, both outside the metal community and inside of the metal community. Not only just contracting the disease, such as Chuck Billy, his wife, some crew, and possibly Death Angel's Will Carroll, but also misinformation that isn't fact-checked, people downplaying the severity of the situation, and people just being ignorant as a whole. On the note of misinformation, the vocalist for Rammstein, Till Lindemann, was sent to the ICU and allegedly tested positive for the coronavirus. The news broke via German tabloid Bild, and that story spread like wildfire. Sites like Loudwire, Metal Injection, Metal Sucks, and so on picked up the story and ran with it. That was until Rammstein themselves went to Facebook and confirmed that while he did get sent to the ICU as soon as he returned from Moscow with a high fever, he actually tested negative for the disease. Now, is it possible that they're just saying this to calm the nerves of fans? Possibly, but A, regardless of whether it's true, that is a whole other problem with misinformation, but also B, I'm inclined to believe them, seeing as the original article from Bild linked no sources to where they got this information from whatsoever. I checked, they had nothing. Now, since the story broke, that many of the metal sites have corrected themselves in new articles or updated it in the previous articles. But regardless, at the end of the day, misinformation has been a huge problem, and the fact that the first story was able to spread that fast without any of the big boys fact-checking it to see if they had actual sources is very concerning. That's a kind of top crack journalism you would expect from an idiot in his basement making a news show every week for the internet. It's that kind of concerning. What's also concerning is the fact that many people are downplaying the situation. In the real world, we saw famously the White House downplayed the entire thing, calling it basically a flu, comparing it to the flu, and saying that it'll go away fairly quickly, which it obviously didn't. What we are seeing in our real world, the metal world, we saw the basis for System of a Down call it sensationalism at its finest, saying, quote, "I think it's the stupidest thing. I think it's lame. It's just a regular cold, bro, at this point." No, it's not. I think even you're beginning to realize that at this point, because the post where you called it sensationalism at its finest, you actually deleted that post. Look, to be clear, it's not a regular cold, okay? Because unlike COVID-19, the sniffles will not send you to the hospital and simultaneously kill old people. There's a clear difference here. And then there's just plain stupid, which comes from none other than Chris Barnes, the death metal vocalist from that one band that we choose to pretend doesn't exist. Now, he actually went on record last week on his Twitter and somehow didn't stop doing that into this week, called it a false flag, and compared self-isolation to martial law, which is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Although I do have to admit, self-martial law is probably the name of a new metal band by this point, and we all know this to be true, and they will be a big deal once all this blows over. Look, I get it, okay? By this point, you're probably sick to death of hearing news about the coronavirus. Believe me, I am too, okay? I am too, and I am also, much like you, waiting for this whole thing to be over. Hell, I was even considering not even doing the show this week, because much like the last week, the vast majority of the stories in the past 7 days revolved solely around the coronavirus. Even the good news, like Bandcamp raising $4 million to support struggling artists, or even that Down with the Sickness sales skyrocketed, because Oh Ah 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 is going to be our new national anthem for the entire world under our new one world government of we're fucked. Even some of the non-coronavirus related stories that we talked about in this episode has loose ties to the coronavirus. Trump's internet tantrum was a result of the White House's famous mishandling of the situation of the pandemic, and all the music that we talked about here Well, that was able to get some press. Most of them was able to get more press because of the fact that other bands pushed off their albums and tours until the latter half of the year. The only story that was genuinely, as far as I could tell, not related to the coronavirus was Michelle Mustaine. And a death in the family being the only story not related to a deadly disease is a sad news week. But even though we're all frustrated and we're just hoping for this whole thing to blow over, it cannot be stressed enough the severity of the whole situation that we're all in. I'm not saying we have to mass panic or anything like that, but I'm not going to sit here and undersell the severity of the subject, and no amount of misinformation, downplaying, and pure idiocy is going to change that. I know it's frustrating right now. Some of you are even scared right now, but we have to remember that there are people who know more about this than we do. It's about listening to the World Health Organization. It's about listening to the experts and just following their simple instructions of social distancing, of staying at home, and washing your goddamn hands as often as you can. If we keep doing that, we will get through this. Hopefully faster than many people forget that Trapped exists.